I had the mic muted. That's crazy. Gamers, welcome to another Zenless Zero video. Today I'm going to be talking about Burnice, right? A character whose name I definitely have butchered because I can't read. That's besides the point. Burnice is going to be a fire anomaly character that we've all seen, and the thing is, in comparison to Caesar, I still think Burnice is good, but I think she's in a weird spot now, mainly to do with how anomalies are played. And so I will hopefully answer all your questions with this video talking about it. So with her being an anomaly character, we have to look at the stats. Her base attack is actually going to be pretty competitive with the type. If we want to actually pull up another anomaly character, I'm going to pull up Jane Doe here. She's going to have a 881 base attack, and Burnice is going to have a 863 base attack. So it's a pretty solid base attack for anomaly character. However, that's kind of all we need from Jane. I guess we can also look at the anomaly stats because these are the main thing that's going to matter for them. So we have a 118 anomaly mastery and a 120 anomaly proficiency. And so it's not going to be as good as Jane's anomaly mastery, which is actually not a good thing. Anomaly mastery is one of the stats you really want a lot of because it's going to be the rate at which the character builds up. Anomaly, or it's going to be the increase of which they build up based on their, the rate build up of their abilities. So this is actually pretty low, so that's kind of concerning. And so is the anomaly proficiency. Jane's is, going to be lower, but again, these stats, you would want to see them both higher than they are here. So overall, that's pretty low. Not a very good thing to see. But I don't think that's going to be a bad thing for this unit because she's going to be doing some special things, being that she is fire anomaly and well, our passive works. So getting into it. As you've seen from the live stream, she is going to be doing mixed attacks with her two flamethrowers. You're of course going to hit them with it and shoot fire at the enemy. You can even hold it down to activate a spin that's going to, spin the character around and just shoot flames all over the place. Whenever you activate this, it will consume 20 heat, which is going to be her special gauge that she has at the top left of the screen under the character. And you can build this up via her special move, which we'll get to in a second. Of course, while you do this, you will have anti-interrupt, and whenever you can finish, or pause, at the end of the move, you can press the skill to chain into the double shot skill, so you use both of those at the same time, right? Multipliers, again, don't really matter. It's an anomaly character, but keep it in mind with some of the daze multipliers, as building up daze for anomaly characters is still important, as they do, in fact, want to have the enemy stunned so they can get peak damage just like every other character. So, yeah, again, main thing here is that daze multipliers, we don't really care so much about the hit multipliers. I will say, though, like other anomaly characters, you realistically don't have to level up their skills like at all. So you could just leave all her skills at level 1. However, with this character in particular, I'm going to bring something up later that might make it worth leveling up her skills. But yeah, again, nothing too like crazy here. We're not going to pay attention to that. For her dodge move, she's going to have a regular dodge. It's going to be you're going to get your regular dodge attack, and then of course, if you do a counter, right, you'll get the other attack off. So again, nothing crazy about the dodge. EX skill, unlike Caesar, it's not as long as a SA, but yeah, it's still gonna be a pretty complex skill. So the basic way to think about this is that she's got different firing modes. She's got one where she just fires with the 1. She's got one where she just fires with the 2, right? Or like you got like a burst going on, right? That's basically the way to think about it. So you press the skill and unleash blast fire going forward, inflicting fire damage. Press hold to charge, boosting the move's potency. Anti-interrupt levels increase while using the skill. Right? So whenever you do EX special heat stirring method, this is going to be the single flamethrower. You continuously blast flames with one flamethrower, then release a fire blast in a straight line, causing massive fire damage. Continue holding to steadily consume energy and extend the spray's duration. While continuously spraying, drag the stick or joystick to execute a sidestep dodge, adjusting your position in the corresponding direction. You saw during the live stream, right? What one of the developers did when playing the character is that they were just shooting it, and you were able to tap kind of like Yuan during the attack and do a dodge midway through and just keep going. And so that's actually going to be pretty cool and very important for, well, staying alive, right? So that's actually nice to see that you can still have some movement and not just stay in one place shooting the flamethrower. Additionally, you will get any interrupt increase and damage take is reduced by 40%, and invincibility is granted during the sidestep, which is kind of obvious, right? For the other EX special, intense heat string method double shots, you activate the EX special, and then you dual wield the flamethrowers, dealing massive fire damage, and you hold down to use more energy and extend the duration, and it's the same as the other skill. Again, multipliers here aren't the biggest thing, but I will say, considering this is like the unit's main function outside of her assist, which we'll get to, you might want to level this up just for the raw damage for it. And this is something I do kind of want to talk about with her core skill, is that there is potential of her being a like sub DPS on like a um what's her name, Soldier 11 team. Now I necessarily wouldn't run that, but there is going to be some sort of build that you can do and run Burnice as like a hybrid crit character on a Soldier 11 team to get really high damage. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing it like that, but it's going to matter more of how her core skill functions. But yeah, here are the multipliers. Again, nothing too crazy. This is going to be a duration attack, so you're going to see a really high multiplier for the overall. But of course, this is going to be an initial cast, and then you just spray, going down, right? And I will say this is a really high multiplier for a EX skill of like this caliber, and it's going to drain a lot of energy. So it's going to cost 40 to use, and it's going to drain 12.5 a second. So that's going to be a lot of energy. And remember, characters only have 120 energy, and so you're going to drain through this pretty fast, right? You won't even get like you'll hardly get like 5 seconds of actually being able to use this. So yeah, you're going to drain this really fast. And then of course for the double shot one, it's going to cost less, but it's going to consume way more over time, right? So yeah, you're going to burn through your energy quickly. Now, this is kind of a concern for me personally, because it's going to matter more on the buildup she applies with it. Is it going to be like Grace to where one skill is equal to just instant shock procs, right? Like instant anomaly buildup? I don't know, because we don't have those numbers and you can't look into the game to see those numbers. So she's got really high raw damage multipliers and some pretty decent days multipliers. But the main thing considering this unit is going to be the anomaly buildup multiplier, which again, we cannot see. So of course, this will be something that I'll have to do with testing once we actually get our hands on her to see how good she is at building up anomaly. But yeah, again, kind of concerning on the energy side, considering that you're just basically instantly draining it after like 2 seconds of flamethrower usage. Yeah, that is a bit concerning. Moving forward, this is going to be the other main part of this character's kit, her actual assist here. And the reason for this is that it's actually her core talent, which this assist here is going to be a regular assist. She's actually going to have a defensive assist, so this is going to be another one of those ranged characters that has a defensive assist, which is good because this means that even if she wasn't a part of the same faction, she would still proc Caesar's passive, which is a whole, another thing, a separate video for. But that's pretty much all I need to know. It's a defensive assist, and you can even do the follow-up with your EX special, just like your other move, right? Your hold basic. So yeah, you've got some pretty good routes for her into using her other moves. That's very nice to see. And there's nothing too crazy about this character's assist, right? And we'll get to the core skill right after the ults, because that's going to be the main thing I've been talking about this whole time. The chain attack. So the regular chain attack, you, of course, you do the mini version of your ultimate, and then you are able to also chain into your skill once again. So that you kind of see the loop with this character. She's supposed to pop on field, do an attack, chain into her skill, and then go away, right? That's why all of her abilities are sort of like chaining into her EX skill, because you're just effectively mag dumping into the enemy. And actually, that's something I want to notice. If you didn't notice in the stat screen, I did kind of avoid this. Her energy regen is actually the stat that gets increased instead of Anomaly Mastery. So like with Jane Doe, right? Leveling her up, she gets Anomaly Mastery from her core skill. Burnice actually gets energy recharge. So this is the thing that's like kind of weird about this unit, is that she's entirely revolved around just mag dumping your flamethrower and being off field. So if people were hoping for like an on-field main DPS, this is not the unit. Jane Doe is definitely the way to go. That being said, though, I still think Burnice is going to be very competitive, regardless of the fact that she's actually, mainly off field. And it's going to be the mechanics of disorder and other stuff like that. So this building energy recharge isn't really concerning for me. It's just something worth knowing that if you were expecting to have a on-field main DPS, this is definitely not the character. She's clearly intended to be off-field, which will be in the core skill. I know I keep saying that, but like we got to get through everything first. And then of course for the ultimate, as you saw on stream, she's doing a crazy animation that looks fantastic, and then she jumps up in the air and just spews fire damage down. Of course, if you do use the ultimate, unlike most other characters, she actually has a quick assist on her ultimate, which is pretty cool. This would incentivize you to use the ultimate on her. However, that's going to be very debatable considering how her team is centered. You might want to actually use it on another character, but at the same time, activating a quick assist with her and having her on field to still build up that fire is probably going to be the most advantageous thing out of anybody else's like anomaly kit for their ultimate, except for like Jane Doe, who gets, you know, a free meter for herself. So again, this will have to be worked out in gameplay which one's gonna be more effective, but there is going to be a pretty good reason to actually use Burnice's ultimate, unlike you see in a lot of, you know, other characters of this type, right? And so she'll leap into the air, activate a quick assist. The quick assist is triggered. Burnice will spray flames for an extended duration. Upon activation, recover about 50 heat, right? And heat is going to be part of her passive, which we get into now. Here are the multipliers. A 4,000 multiplier is actually very good, but remember, it's an anomaly character. You're not really building crit. However, this is a character that you can arguably build crit, and that's what I've mentioned, her core skill. So her core skill is going to be the main shtick of this unit. I will say, unlike Jane Doe, where you can kind of keep it at a lower level, or some of these other characters where you can keep the core skill at a lower level, I think it's actually going to be really good to level up Burnice's core skill because, one, she gets energy recharge, the stat that she, you know, very much needs. That is a part of this unit's, you know, whole gameplay flow. And additionally, it's also going to increase the raw damage multiplier of her excuse me, core skill, which is the only thing that it does, right? And the reason why this is important is because this is going to be the thing that I said it's going to be for like that hybrid crit build, because this is a pretty solid multiplier of a 350 attack that's going to activate off field, right? That being said, though, I still don't think building crit's the way. I would suggest going full anomaly, as that's the whole character's shtick. But if you are planning on doing something funny like that, this is why you would want to level specifically the core skill. So what does the core skill actually do? Nitro Fuel Cocktail. Whenever Burnice expends energy, she accumulates heat up to a max of 100. She gains 1.4 heats for each 1 point of energy spent. At 50 heat, she enters the Nitro Fuel Cocktail state until all heat is expended. On entering the battlefield, Burnice initially accumulates 100 heat while in Nitro Fuel Cocktail state. Jesus Christ, it's mouthful. Burnice hits an enemy with a basic attack, Mixed Flame, or EX special attack, chain attack, or ultimate. She applies the scorch effect. That was that little fire effect that you saw in the live stream, where you get like that fire symbol on the enemy. And she and until she exits the Nitro Fuel Cocktail state. Again, as I've been saying, the whole gameplay of this character is you hop in, spend energy, you know, burn your fuel to get heat, and, you know, apply the effects to the enemy. It's really that simple. After another squad member hits enemies under the Scorch status, it triggers Afterburn, expending 8 heat to deal 350 of Burnice's attack as fire damage and accumulate fire anomaly buildup. Now, I don't know the buildup of his attack either, but this is going to be the main shtick of the unit, being off-field, right? It says after another teammate, so this is not herself, right? So you have to be swapping to another teammate, and then she's going to do a, you know, effectively coordinated attack with that teammate to apply more anomaly and do some damage. Again, I think this is a great ability. This solves sort of the problems that anomaly characters have had in terms of application, being off field, uptime, and other various, you know, issues in terms of, you know, trying to get their damage out. This is very good to see, and it's going to allow her to be probably the most flexible anomaly character there is, because she's going to apply her anomaly outfield. That being said, it does have a trigger condition every 1.5 seconds, and as we said, a cost of 8, which is going to give you, that's 12 procs. That's 12 procs of this that you can actually do. You will not be able to do 13 procs back to back, which, granted, considering the duration, that's going to be a 12 times 1.5 scenario, which is going to be 18 seconds. I would say, depending on how you build this character, this is totally reasonable to have up pretty consistently. It's going to matter more how much energy you can burn within a matter of seconds, right? Because as we've seen, she's already building energy recharge from her passive, so she's going to want to have this on her weapon and or from the relics, right? So as much as you can burn energy is going to be the name of the game of this character, right? Hop on field, mag dump your flamethrower, get her off field so somebody else can do, you know, all the work and proccing disorder and so on, right? So yeah, again, it's a pretty good core passive, and there's going to be this additional part of it with every 10 anomaly proficiency increases afterburn damage by 1% up to a max of 30. The damage from afterburn is considered an assist attack damage, which this is kind of weird to see. We don't actually have any other effects in this game, to my knowledge, that completely scale off of assist attack percent, right? As I've shown in the other video, this game has like 100 damage categories, with assist being one that is basically not seen ever. I can't think of another instance of like this being a thing. So this is an interesting thing that they made that kind of excludes this unit's functionality. And you've seen this reflected in the relic set with also proccing off of assist attacks, right? So yeah, if you were expecting to get like more raw damage off of like a certain weapon or something, you're once again out of luck because they have made it to where her passive excludes everything but that. And the reason why this matters is that, as far as I understand, this is obviously going to increase your anomaly damage because it's just raw damage percent. So, yeah, I could be wrong there. If I'm wrong, then this is just going to be damage percent for the actual attack, which is just kind of pointless. But again, the whole idea of this is that you're applying anomaly buildup off field, right? That's just what the unit wants to do. So, again, pretty good passive. And then, of course, for additional ability, kindling whenever another character is an anomaly character, which, again, clearly you want to play with another anomaly characters, or shares the same faction, or basic attack, EX special, or the other EX special, it's an enemy, or when Afterburn is triggered, the move's accumulated fire buildup is increased by 65%. When any team member applies the burn effect to the enemy, the duration is extended by 3 seconds. This part right here, actually, no, this whole part with the buildup and burn extension is the most important part of this character's kit. Why? Well, in case you don't know, is that with how anomaly buildup works in this game, the duration increase is going to be the biggest increase of damage for disorder flat out, right? So as the camera turns me into a ghost, as you can see here, previously I mentioned that, like, let's just get an average time of 7 seconds to proc the anomaly. This is only going to matter with Jane because she builds up really fast, but other characters are going to build up slower. But if we just give it the default as being 7 seconds for any regular anomaly, with like 300 anomaly stats here, 350. Let's just bump this up to 400. I'd say that's more realistic on a good build. Do I have any other modifiers here? I'm just going to do 40 damage percent because that's going to be more average. And yeah, that attack value is fine. Yeah, so with these values, we're going to be sitting at like 266,000 burn damage if you proc burn disorder, right? Which is going to be lower than shock and corruption disorder. But the reason why this matters that you're getting a time extension is, well, let's take the 7 seconds timer from 7 to 10 seconds. Your damage now goes up to 335,000 damage. So you're getting a massive increase from the timer extension. This right here is the biggest thing for disorder teams, is that the timer extension, because it's effectively increasing your raw multiplier for the disorder proc, right? That's why this passive is so important, is because that's what it does. You're increasing your raw multiplier by, it's another 150 attack percentage, right? Because it's burn, it's 50. But yeah, that's going to be really good, and it's going to be the biggest part to what this character wants to do. Additionally, it's also increasing your buildup, which I don't have the numbers for buildup. I've just been toying around. The whole point of the buildup being like this is that it's going to multiply into the other sources of buildup, which I can pull up real quick. So I don't have any like raw numbers because, as I said earlier, we can't actually see the numbers in game. But having a 65% anomaly buildup is going to be really strong. So Burnice is going to have a bit of a lower AP or AM bonus. So let's just say like 150. 150. And then again, we've got no buildup currently, and we've got no debuff from Seth. So again, this is actually going to be a flat number, by the way, in terms of how the game actually calculates it. But as I said, can't see the real numbers. But as you can see here, your base buildup, you're going to have your AM bonus plus anomaly buildup plus build res. The reason why this passive matters so much is that this is going to multiplicatively increase your buildup by a lot. So as you just saw there, with just AM bonus, you're going to be doing about 50% more. With just Burnice's AM, you're just going to be doing about 50% more buildup, which is pretty good. But when you factor in her passive of, you know, whenever you use EX special or Afterburn is triggered or whatnot, you're going to be increasing it by another 65%. Well, now you've multiplicatively increased your buildup, and it's going to be 250% of the buildup that you would normally do. Or sorry, like a 2.5 times multiplier of like your actual buildup. So this is going to be insane in terms of like what her buildup is going to be. So despite the fact that, yeah, her stats look low and some of the other parts of her kit don't look that impressive, this right here, proccing her core ability is going to be mandatory. for getting this unit's damage output. Because you're getting such a high buildup, she's going to be building up really fast for Anomaly, you know, like proccing it. And then, of course, the burn effect, which is going to, you know, multiply your disorder damage a lot more, right? So, yeah, this is the name of the game with this unit. Procking her a core ability, or sorry, her additional ability by having another Anomaly character or the same faction mate, and or making sure she makes use of her core skill as much as possible by mag dumping your energy. So that's the basic flow of the unit, right? As for her dupes, I was going to call them eidolons, but they're called mindscapes. The first one increases your cap from 100 to 140, which, as we've already figured out earlier, is going to obviously change your amount of uses for the skill, which I'm just going to do this, oopsies, 140 divided by 8. So you're going to be able to get like 17 skill uses off, which is going to be pretty solid. But again, this is anything like crazy for this particular thing. Other part of it is upon entering the battlefield, Burnice will accumulate an additional 40 heat, which is good, but not anything crazy. Again, I'm not going to be like, hey, go and get the M1 because it's really good. This is just, additive on top. Increases the damage multiplier of the Afterburn effect by 100% of Burnice's attack, and additionally increases the fire anomaly buildup from the Afterburn by 25%. So this damage multiplier here is kind of pointless because, as I've said, it's an anomaly character, so you don't care about the raw multiplier. It's going to make this one 400%, but this is why I've said, like, they kind of, for whatever reason, want this character to also be a crit sub DPS. I don't know why that is, but for whatever reason, she seems to be tailored around that, which does, I think, negatively hurt her. I think she should really pick one role. I'm not trying to be both, but who knows? This is just hoyoverse being silly. And maybe I'm missing something. Maybe her anomaly buildup is so good you can do crit sub DPS. So you just build crit instead of, was it anomaly mastery on her? Hell, maybe that's actually the way you do it. But right now, the way I see it, I don't think so, because she's going to be focused on more disorder teams. Unlike Jane Doe, who can run primarily like hyper carry teams, but that's besides the point. As for her second dupe, when triggering Afterburn, the thermal penetration is applied to the enemy, setting up to 5 times, lasting for 6 seconds. Repeated triggers reset the duration. When any allied unit in the squad hits the enemy, the pen ratio is increased by 4% for each stack of thermal penetration, up to 20%. So this is effectively giving you and your party members a 20% defense penetration. This is pretty solid. However, as a standalone buff, this isn't anything too crazy. That being said, on her intended team, the disorder team, right, with Grace in Arena, this is actually going to be really good because Arena is buffing penetration ratio, which is going to, as how defense works, right? It's going to scale with the more that you stack it. And so in this case, her having additional defense penetration is actually going to be really, really good, right? Typically, it's not something you see in this game. There's not a lot of pen ratio buffs, but if we were to just like, we throw in on this chart that I've got here, defense penetration, right? We put in like 20%, right? From whatever this is going to be, my bad, I have to go here. You're going to see that the damage inflicted... Oh, is this the wrong one? My bad. This is the wrong one. We need to use this one, right? So let me just zero this out real quickly because I want to make sure I've got the flat stats. Yeah. So this is what it would look like on like a stunned enemy for Ellen Joe with like my... This again, this is because I've got flat pin and like pin ratio already stacked on here. But if we were to look at the default stats here, it's going to be about 51% defense multiplier. And so when they're stunned, they're going to be taking about 77% of the true damage, right? And so with this, when you stack your pin ratio, it's going to be another 20, which is going to increase this all the way up to 80. And so you're going to be getting a like what, 7% damage increase, right? So it's pretty solid, or it's 8%, but it's pretty solid. But whenever you stack it with a character like Arena to make this go up to like 50, or it'd be 49%. But if you were to do 49% in ratio with like Rena, you're gonna see that it's gonna massively increase all the way up to 100. So that like 49% pin ratio is now almost like giving you, well, first off, you're doing like true damage at that point, but it's almost doubling your damage whenever you stack all things together. And so yeah, stacking defense penetration is gonna be really, really good. If you do want to see without the stun multiplier, here, let me just remove that, right? You're gonna get a pretty sizable damage increase, up to 67 from like 0. So just raw dog it, it's gonna be at like 20, sorry, not 20, almost 20 percent damage increase overall. So it's gonna be pretty good when stacked, but standalone, it's honestly not too crazy. So yeah, and plus the other problem with this is that it builds up, so you're gonna have to hit it multiple times, which, mind you, this is Afterburn. So this is gonna be this part of the passive here where you have to, you know, expend heat, right? So this is not really that good either, because you have to build it up over, you know, X amount of seconds, right? You're not getting this instantly. As I've already said, it's going to be like 4 skill procs, right? Which is, you know, going to take some time. It's going to take 6 seconds to actually do the 4 skill procs in the first place. And my apologies. Apparently I don't have Discord muted. But yeah, again, this is going to be kind of interesting, but it's not like, I don't think it's anything crazy. As for her 4th dupe, the EX special attack assist attack its enemy, the move's crit rate increases by 30%. The max flame spray duration of the EX special double shot is increased by 1 second. As I've been saying this whole time, for whatever reason they want her to be like a hybrid crit character. I don't know why, but yeah, the 4th dupe is giving her crit rate on her assist attack and EX special. It's also increasing the duration of the double shot by 1 second, which just means that if you have the energy, you can use it by another second. This, again, to me, does nothing. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not impressed by this character's mindscapes whatsoever. I will say the most intriguing one for me personally is going to be the build-up right here on the M1. But I honestly think none of these are like worth your polychromes, right? They're not anything crazy, and we like stuff like the M2. There's not enough sources of pin ratio for it to like matter, and like even on this character, you're not going to be running a 2-piece pin ratio. You're going to be running the 2-piece anomaly proficiency because you're going to get the raw damage from from her actual multiplier, right? So I really don't know why this is the case, right? And I'm talking about this part right here. Every 10 anomaly proficiency, because you're gonna need at least 300, and if you can't hit 300, which it's not hard to hit 300, but if you can't hit that, then like what use is building extra penetration, right, for like the M2? It's not a big deal. As for her 6th dupe, whenever she uses the EX special double shot, it triggers Afterburn and it deals 60% of her attack. This effect can trigger once every 0.5 seconds and does not consume heat. So basically, you're doing double damage ticks with her with her double shot, which, unless something is stated otherwise, should have the most insane anomaly buildup to exist. It's going to be like, boom, instantly apply burn, which could be pretty good. But again, this is the M6. I don't expect a lot of people to get this. I don't even expect a lot of people to make use of this, I'm not going to lie. This effect can trigger every 1.5 seconds and does not consume heat after hitting the enemy with EX special double shot. While the move is active, the EX special double shot special afterburn effects will ignore 25% of the target's res. This part is really good. This means your double hit that you're doing is ignoring resistances, but it's also a 100 multiplier. So like, I really don't know why this is here. The other part of this is that this is gonna again, I don't know why they're doing raw damage stats on an anomaly character. This is the whole thing I think is kind of whack. But regardless, moving forward, the EX special double shot when the fire hits enemy, if the enemy is burned, trigger an additional instance of burn damage equal to 1,800% of the original damage. This effect can be triggered once every 20 seconds. This part is where the damage comes in. So this is where it's like, wait a minute, I think the crit build is kind of viable, because at M6, she's going to instantly do 1,800 just raw fire damage. I don't know why they designed her mindscapes like this, but yeah. Again, I don't think this character kit is bad. It's just a little silly in terms of how it's designed. And I don't think the mindscapes are really that much worth it. Maybe the M1 for the extra buildup, but I'll be honest, with how her other skills sound, I don't think it's going to be an issue whatsoever. Plus, as I said earlier, the EX skills require a lot of energy to use. I think the build-up is going to be really good regardless. So, yeah, that's going to be her kit. In terms of weapons, unlike other characters, you're actually not screwed. So you're going to have a variety of weapon options. However, I can tell you right now, the other 5 stars will not be the way to go. The 2 other 5 stars are going to be Grace's and Jane's. Jane's passive is completely pointless on her. Yeah, like, if you actually trigger dodges, sure, the build-up's going to be really good, and the really high base stats is going to be the main thing you want from this, but this is just fizz damage percent, so this really doesn't, like, half the passive doesn't do anything for you, right? And as for Grace's, it's pin ratio, so as we already covered, your stats are going to be skewed into one way or another, and so this can allow you to stack even more pin ratio for, like, your overall damage increase, but that requires you to stack pin ratio, so you're going to have Arena or some other characters to buff you while you're doing your attacks and actually proccing. And remember, Arena's buff is kind of screwed to where you don't get the full effect on herself, which is, I don't know if that's a bug, but that's besides the point. What I'm trying to say here is that, like, you won't be able to make use of her full buff regardless of what you do. So even if this looks appealing with, like, the attack percent increase, you're not getting the EX special bonus because this character is proccing it off of her assist attack, right, with her core skill. So this is kind of not doing much. But again, this is pretty easy to hit considering that she'll just stack this up immediately with EX skill use, I think. But yeah, this isn't like the most insane weapon to use on her. It's going to be a decent option, but definitely her signature weapon is going to be the best one. It's giving you raw attack, and this is going to give you the valuable energy recharge I've been talking about this whole time. And this is like the main reason why you do want her weapon, is that she's going to get extra energy recharge. As you may know, this is just going to multiply with that energy recharge percent. So yeah, this is going to be an insane effect with what she wants to do. Whenever you hit an EX attack or special, EX special or an assist attack, the equipper's damage increases by 3.5% up to 10 times. So this is going to be another 35% damage on top of everything else. And the reason why this matters here is that this is an overall damage increase, or damage percent increase, right? So this is going to actually increase your burn damage, and it's going to increase your disorder damage. So again, very valuable weapon. This can trigger every 0.3 seconds, so it's going to be very easy to proc. And while off-field, the stack effect is doubled. As I've been saying this whole time, this character does not want to be on-field. And that's even pointed out in the weapon and in the relic set. So upon obtaining the damage increase effect, the number of current stacks is greater than equal to 5. The equipper's anomaly proficiency increases by 50%. Anomaly proficiency increase does not stack and lasts for 6 seconds. So yeah, if you got a minimum of 5 stacks, boom, another damage increase. So really, really good weapon for her specifically. If you do want to know other weapon options, it's legit just going to be a toss-up between any of the 4 stars here. We can even open to the 3 stars. Rainforest, I think, is going to be your best option, to be honest with you, because it's around consuming energy, and this character wants to just mag dump her energy. So I think this is going to perform the best out of the 4 stars. The Weeping Gemini is going to be another decent option. However, this passive is very inconsistent in terms of, you know, actually applying different effects. Now, granted, this is going to have better uptime on this character because you're going to be running multiple different anomaly characters, so it's going to be realistic for you to build this up pretty fast in some cases. However, if the enemy dies, you lose the stack. If they get stunned, you lose it. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the Weeping Gemini, but it's going to be a decent option. As for the Electro Lip Gloss, this one is weird because you're going to be getting an attack increase if you've got characters with, or enemies with Anomaly inflicted on them. So this is not going to have the best uptime, but you also get 15% more damage. So considering you're running her in a dual Anomaly team, you should have pretty much full uptime. In fact, you're going to be running her on an Anomaly team that's got 2 different damage over time ones. So this should have effectively 100% uptime, especially if she's not the starting character. But this is going to be inconsistent, just like the other one, where it's going to be like flipping on and off for whether or not you actually have the passive proc. So it's going to be another good option, but again, not everybody's going to have the battle pass, so here or there. As for this one right here, this is Piper's. This one is actually usable entirely based on the fact that you're going to be using the EX skill. Otherwise, this doesn't do anything for you. It's just that simple. So yeah, if she's going to be on field, Piper's is going to be usable, but as I've said, I think the other ones are probably better for you. But This one does have build-up rate, so there's a chance you can get some insane build-up with the EX skill. So yeah, again, nothing too crazy. And then as for 3 stars, well, they're 3 stars. I wouldn't use the pin ratio one. I'd use this one that gives you anomaly build-up. So yeah, weapons are okay, but nothing too crazy. As for the gear, there's only one gear option. Well, okay, there's 2, but the main one is going to be the new one, Chaos Jazz. So it's going to increase your anomaly proficiency, and it's also going to increase your fire and electric damage by 50%. And whenever you are off-field, damage caused by EX specials or assist attacks is increased by 20%. I mean, come on. You guys know where this is going. And then whenever the character switches back on field, this buff continues for 5 seconds, and then the effect can be re-triggered every 7.5 seconds. Yeah, so she's going to be off-field most of the time. Just that simple. I don't know what else to say. As for the 2-piece, it's probably going to be something like Swing Jazz, or you're just going to get a raw damage or another anomaly increase here, or you can do the 2-piece fire damage. So you've got options, but I would definitely say this 4-piece is the way to go with the new set. You could alternatively use Freedom Blues. However, Freedom Blues requires an EX special to be hit, and this is going to be, I would say, less consistent than just doing raw damage for her, because she is going to be off field for so long, and ideally the only fire character in the team, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it for weapon or relics. So they're called disk drives, but the other games got me messed up. But yeah, nothing else is really going to be, I would say, optimal. There is a case that you can make for using Inferno Metal for the crit build, but that's going to be for the psychopaths that are trying to do some funny stuff with her. So yeah, again, I would definitely say the best way to go is Chaos Jazz, and then you're going to be doing Anomaly Proficiency, slot 4, Fire Damage in slot 5, and then Anomaly Mastery in slot 6, right? That's what I would say you do. Depending on how bad her buildup is in game, or how good it is in game, you could probably swap that last slot for Energy Recharge instead if you really want to, and do full Energy Regen on her, which could work actually pretty well instead. But I would suggest going with the raw damage. And if you're getting really silly and you've got enough substats of Anomaly Proficiency and Mastery, you could, of course, change that slot 4 for a crit and try to do a crit sub DPS build. I wouldn't recommend that, but that is something that you can do, right? And regardless, this 4-piece is definitely her best option for that. So then, as for teammates, this one's going to be a little weird. Is this character's kit is entirely revolved around the fact that you are going to be running another Anomaly character. So most of the time, you're going to be running some combination of her plus Jane Doe, or her plus where is her? Where is she? Grace. You're going to be running this. I will say the best pairing is actually, in my opinion, going to be Grace plus Burnice because of the Disorder procs. This is going to be one of those times where proccing Disorder is going to get you the most damage. So like on the Jane Doe team, if you pay attention to how it functions or my other videos, you know that, or Anomaly guides in general, right? You know that Anomaly damage is going to flip-flop between the two proccing the Anomaly, right? So Jane, if you proc the Anomaly off of Jane, it's going to have a lower damage than if you proc it off of Grace, because the dot elements are the ones that scale Disorder really hard. And that's why this team is going to be, I would say, her best team, because you don't have that problem, right? These are both dot elements, as we've already looked at for the damage multipliers. Where did I pull that up? I think it was here. As we already looked at for the actual damage multipliers, right? This is going to be the highest Anomaly scaler by running double dot elements, right? You're going to get that increase on burn and shock, right? Oopsies, 10. You're going to get that increase of burn damage, which is going to bring your burn disorder up to be higher than Grace's burn disorder. Now, the reason why I mentioned this is, well, Rena. Rena's passive is going to be proccing the increased duration for shock. So now shock disorder is going to be even higher, right? And Rena is already increasing your team's electric damage, right? And so this combo, I think, is going to be her actual best team, right? You're stacking pin ratio on Grace to get the highest shock damage possible, and then you're running Rena to extend that shock, and Burnice is going to be off field, constantly applying ticks of burn to re-proc disorder, and then she can also proc disorder, and when she has her burn time up, you just swap back to Grace, proc disorder off that, do even more damage, right? This, I think, is going to be her best team now that disorder is fixed and actually does days build up. I think this is going to be the best option because of how high the scaler is for disorder of shock and burn type, right? This is going to be your highest overall damage, I would say. And especially because this is without the stunned enemy, by the way. This is just like some juiced stats we've got right here. We're going to get some insane like damage numbers. My bad. That's what that was with the stunned enemy. Whoopsies. It's not going to be that high, but like you get what I'm saying. You're going to get the highest damage numbers out of running a team like this. Now, of course, there are other ways to do this. You could run stunners, but I would say that that Burnice lacks synergy with other characters. I don't see her being that useful with pretty much anybody else, which is unfortunate. Now, you can use Seth. He's going to get reduced enemies buildup. So if you don't have Arena and or don't want to run Arena, you can, of course, run Seth. I would suggest running that because Seth is going to increase your AP for at least one of the characters. You can get him to buff both, at, you know, if you time it. But yeah, he's going to be buffing the other characters in terms of buildup and their actual like overall damage. So you're going to get good use out of him. You can use Xingyi in like a solo team, or if you just drop the support. If you drop the support, do double Anomaly plus Xingyi. This is something that you can do. It is going to obviously drop your shock damage by a good amount, but it's going to be a really high team because, well, you get that build up for stun multiplier. You're going to do a lot of damage for the actual disorders while the enemy is stunned. So that's one way you could sort of run the teams. Of course, there's Caesar, who is just completely broken, where she can go into any role here. Now, reminder, if you do use Caesar with Jane Doe, she will eat up some of Jane's anomaly like buildup. So because of that, some of your assaults will do lower damage. I don't know if I clarified that in the other video, but yeah, there will be some eating up of the Fizz like percent buildup or some of your procs, right? So you got to keep that in mind, but you'll still have overall high damage because Caesar has an insane kit buffing everybody at the same time. Piper, of course, is going to be another option for as like a mini version of Jane that you could run. It's not going to be optimal, but it's going to get the job done, right? Piper is going to be the weak. Honestly, out of every team here, I think using Piper is the weakest one, probably. Not because Piper's bad, it's just because everybody else is that much stronger, right? Of course, Lucy is always going to be a good support for anybody, and you'll even proc the passive guaranteed, so you don't have to worry about that. Lucy's going to be what you run for the Soldier 11 like crit team, regardless, right? Yeah, here's Soldier 11. So like if you were going to run Lucy, it's going to look something like this, where it's Soldier 11 Burnice plus Lucy. I wouldn't recommend it, as I said, but like that's how that team would look, right? So you could do something there. And then basically nobody else really makes use of her. Nicole doesn't have the uptime to make use of a Anomaly character because of how, you know, proc work. It's really annoying to actually play around. And there's no Ether Anomaly character, so yeah. And then nobody else can really make full use of a kit like this, unfortunately, because, well, nobody has synergy with her, right? Even Sakaku is a single target buffer, so she can't even use it. So yeah, Burnice, in terms of flexibility, is kind of in a weird spot. We don't have enough Anomaly characters. We will get a future Anomaly character based on the fact that the set is buffing electric, so it's really intended for another character as well. But yeah, again, Burnice, in terms of actual value, it's questionable. I still think she's good. I think she's going to be like a tier 0.5 character, so she's going to be near the top like meta level. But she's going to be one of the more annoying characters to actually run because of the lack of synergy and options, right? So again, we'll see what happens. But that's going to be it for this video. Somehow I ended up being just as long as the Caesar one, despite the one that Caesar actually had math in it. But that's besides the point. I do think Burnice looks very good. However, I am concerned for certain parts of her kit and the overall synergy with the rest of the game, as we are lacking real Anomaly options. And well, with how her kit's designed, you're kind of forced into a role of running Anomaly characters to get the most out of your damage, because she is burn based, which, in case you don't know, has the lowest raw damage for multipliers, and that's why you've got stuff like this, you know, burn effect increase. So yeah, hopefully this video helps out with understanding what she wants to do, how to build her, all that stuff. Oh, and for unlike the Caesar one where I don't mention Bang Boos, I'll mention Bang Boos here. I would suggest, in terms of running Bang Boos, to pick one that's going to be off the element you're trying to proc. So if you're running shock and or fire, or if you're running her intended team, the disorder team, I would either do plug boo or rocket boo, the ones that are going to give you build up for that actual element, which You won't be able to proc Rockaboo because you're not running another fire character, so it's going to end up being Plug Boo is what you're going to do. And the reason for this is because you just want that build up as much as possible. And so that's what I would do. I wouldn't run anything else because on an Anomaly team, it's not going to do anything. You won't be able to make any funny use of it. So yeah, one of those two. Of course, if you've got a 4-star option instead, because you don't have the 5-star like Electric Boo here, again, you can run that. So yeah, it's going to be whichever Anomaly you're procking. If, of course, you're running on a Jane Doe team, excuse me, you can run one of the physical ones to try to get the build up more. It just depends on whichever disorder you're trying to proc, right? So yeah, in case you wanted to know for Bang Boos, because I know I got a lot of questions last time about which Bang Boos to run. It's going to be based off the element you're trying to proc. So yeah, hopefully this helps. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check me out on Twitch, and I'll see you guys in the next one.